Hello there. So today has been rather rough day. I've been quite stuck in my own mind these past days. I've also been sick and just not really feeling very well. It's the third week now after summer, and getting back into the daily routine of work and everything at the clinic has been a bit rough. It's good to be back in the treadmill again. I do like and appreciate the routine, but due to my ADHD, it is quite tough for me to maintain my routines. They have a tendency to slip quite easily for me. And once they start to slip, I need to expend a lot of energy in order to maintain my rhythm and my routines again. And if I do not maintain my routines, my life slowly, bit by bit, starts falling apart. I will go to bed extremely late. I will procrastinate the hell out of basically anything that I can procrastinate, and nothing gets done. And I start self loathing, self criticizing, and the voices inside of my head starts to scream very loud that I am just not a productive, good human being in this world. And it's a bad place to be for me, frankly. It's really not a good place for me to be in. And it just starts to spiral really easily. This is something that I've been struggling a lot with in the past. It's led to anxiety, depression. I've had severe burnout and stress periods. And I've never really found good strategies in order to handle these problems. Not until the past, I would say, 2 years, 2 to 3 years perhaps. Especially the last year has been very important for me. I've been going through therapy, different kinds of therapy, and the most important therapy that I've done so far has been metacognitive therapy that has helped me tremendously. I want to give you a bit of context just for today, and then I want to talk about how um, the principles that I will tell you about and the principles of metacognitive therapy and the things that I have learned throughout my own therapy and my own sort of self development journey, I guess you can call it. Trying really to work these problems out for myself and to improve myself in these areas. How hopefully that can be of help to some of you, because overthinking and mental burnout, anxiety escalating more and more as the thoughts just start to pile on and spiral is something that I think a lot of people can relate to. We are more and more inside of our own heads. We have so many things reminding us constantly of things that we want to do better in our lives, but or at least things we feel that we should be doing more of, or we should be doing better in our lives. And we're comparing ourselves to all of these ideals, and it's creating a lot of negative feelings and emotions. And this pressure can build up. It can be a perceived pressure from the outside of what your life is supposed to look like. And it can also be a pressure maybe from yourself. And the question is whether that pressure is really necessary, and maybe there's a different way to handle it, and to try and alleviate yourself from some of this pressure, and to escape some of these thoughts, or at least be able to to do something with them, to handle them in a more constructive way. All right. So today, as I said, I've been sick, and I went to my parents' place with my sister, and today it's just not been a good day. I slept until 12. I had a banging headache and just not feeling good at all. I dragged my sorry ass out of bed, made myself breakfast, and 3 hours passed with just pure self loathing spiraling around in my head, really thinking about all of the things that are wrong in my life right now. Um, and I mean, you can always find things that are wrong in your life, but you can especially find things that are wrong in your life on these kind of days, right? Um, just 30 years old, living alone in this apartment, broke up with my girlfriend for 5 years, half year ago. Now I'm just here stuck all alone. Uh, Career wise, just stuck in a job that doesn't pay very well, and no prospects of like a lot of development within this career, and not being able, like, thoughts of like, oh, what if I'm not going to be able to find a good partner. My sister just got like a child half a year ago, and like, as nice as it is to have become an uncle, I'm very grateful for that. At the same time, it triggers so many emotions in me of like, am I going to be able to be a father? Now I'm 30 years old, and I don't have a partner, and I don't feel like I'm in a position where I want a partner right now, but I also feel like a pressure of like time ticking, and that I should be further along, and will I be able to even have a kid and take care of the kid? I feel that some days I'm not even able to take care of myself, and I have ADHD. I can barely keep it together as it is, and like all of these worries about the future just started piling up today. And that I think it's like worries and thoughts that everyone can have once in a while, no matter where you are in your life. If like you got objectively everything going for you, and or if you're like, if you're really struggling, uh, and I don't know, it really hit me today. And I went to pick up my sister around 3, and my niece, and we drove to my parents' place. It's about half an hour drive from here. And um, well, we were just there chilling out in the afternoon. Mom prepared food, and um, my father was sitting half asleep at the table like he usually does. Uh, Everything in order, how it normally is when we're there. And it's cozy. I love visiting my family. I love visiting my parents, and I love spending time with my family in general. Um, but today, and how it's been, like a big chunk of my life has felt like I'm inside of this dome, like that I am literally like inside of a cocoon. I have a filter, a layer between me and them, and all of these thoughts are just going on inside of my head. And I'm open as a book when I'm not like good. It's very clear to see that something's wrong, and definitely from my family, my mother and my sister, they can spot it immediately. Um, so they ask if I'm okay, and the more that they ask, the more I just don't feel good. And I told my sister kind of what was going on, and she was like reaffirming and saying it's normal, it's okay. And it's like, what do you do? What do you do in these situations? Because I could feel like my heart starting to beat faster and faster, starting to get really uncomfortable, and like it's almost like I'm seeing myself from the outside, that I'm watching myself in third person. And it's like on a meta level that I can reflect on my own existence in a way in that situation, and see myself from the outside. And I'm trying to think about, okay, now I'm sitting here, I'm supposed to be present, but all of these thoughts are just going around and around, and I'm feeling worse and worse. And like, oh man, and like I'm seeing my sister play with her kid, and it just triggers all of these emotions of like, am I gonna be able to do that? Or and it, like, just more and more of these triggers happening. And at some point I'm like feeling, should I leave? Should I tell them that I'm not feeling well? Should I tell them that I want to go home? Should I take a break and go for a walk? It gets so overwhelming. And the more like I feel, I can see kind of out of the side of my eye that my sister is looking at me, and I know she's doing it because she means well. But at the same time, I can feel and I know that she's like looking at me with concern, and she can see that I'm not doing too well. Again, I'm pretty much an open book. Um, but at the end, it kind of ended up turning around and being nice. and I ended up enjoying it. Uh, and when we went home, I also had a nice talk with my sister. I opened up a bit more about how I felt. We had a nice little talk on the way home, and I'm feeling better now. So there are multiple strategies that I implemented today and that I very consciously tried to use. And if I did not have these strategies, I would not be able to cope with a situation like this because I am very prone to anxiety. I'm very prone to stress. I have a very low threshold for stress. I get easily overwhelmed. I have 100 thoughts racing at once. I have a difficult time in these situations just keeping up with what anyone is saying, even though it's just me and my family sitting close to each other, and it's difficult for me to follow along in the conversation. Um, and that there are like multiple times previously in my life where this would have triggered an anxiety attack for me, and I would have started to hyperventilate and like completely spiral because these thoughts would go on and on and on. And it becomes like a loop where, like, one, I'm feeling down because I'm a bit sick. Two, uh, all of these thoughts are going around in my head, worries about what's going on in my life right now and the future. uh, Three, um, new thoughts are kind of like starts to come from the thoughts that I already have. Now I will start thinking about, like, oh, is something wrong with me? Uh, is this like me getting anxiety now? Is this like a sign that something like is getting worse with my mental health? Am I like, will I start going into like a new period of like depression? Will I start to get more stressed? Will I be able to handle my job? Are these feelings going to come more and more again? This is like one, two, three, right? Escalating. And then four, these thoughts are making me feel even more shit. It's triggering even more of a stress response inside of me. So it's like one, two, three, four, right? And now we're back into the circle again and again and again. And there we go. We have a spiral full on. And this is how anxiety attacks happens. You have a situation where, like, a trigger. Today it was me feeling ill. Another trigger from this was just like a lot of anxiety thoughts come up, bubbling to the surface. New trigger is seeing my sister with her kid and all of these worries about the future, making me feeling even more like shit, making me feel even more anxious and getting even more physical symptoms, making me think even more. And like, there you go, you have an anxiety attack right there. And I want to try and walk you through what I did today. One, because I am proud that I'm able to cope with these things now, because it's been a massive, massive problem for me in my life. It still is. And if I do not actively implement the tools that I have, it will start going downhill for me. I know that for a fact. If I start like giving into it. Luckily, at the point that I am now, I'm able to step outside of the box and take a breath and use the tools that I have. All right. So what did I actually do today? So this was the context, right? So I want to give you a brief overview of the difference between a more traditional approach to handling these kind of issues, which is CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, um, and also a lot of like the classical, more psychodynamic therapy. It's a lot focused about uh, past childhood, understanding trauma and how it affects you, to help you cope with what's happening to you, and I guess normalize it. Secondly, you use in CBT, you use tools to understand how your thoughts affect your emotions, affect your physical sensations, how that affects your behavior. This is what we call the cognitive diamond. And these things are all great, but these tools also require a lot of analysis and thinking. And I was sitting thinking to myself when I sat at the dinner table today, all right, I'm experiencing all of these really like difficult emotions and anxiety, and I know what it is. I know it's not dangerous. I've been here before. What what tools should I pull out of the toolbox right now to handle this? And I was thinking about, like, thinking positive or trying to like rationalize and thinking, oh, it's not so bad. It's normal. like all of these things, and like trying to kind of switch the mindset around of thinking, oh, I have a good job, I have a good life, I'm in a good position, and like these things are all great, and sure, thinking positive can definitely be also a good tool to use, but at the same time, um, this is an overthinking problem. The core of the issue is overthinking. This circle that I drew before, right, with the 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing going around, stems from overthinking. It is me overthinking. It is my thoughts spinning out of control and me going on board on those thoughts and like racing and run, like going on the circle, right? So the question is, can we solve an overthinking problem with more thinking? Can we solve a problem of overthinking with more thinking? I do not think that's possible. I think it can help, sure, sometimes to remind yourself of it's not so bad, there are good and bad days, and all these things. But at the end of the day, you're still trying to think yourself out of an overthinking problem, which means that you're still stuck inside of your head. Now you're just thinking different thoughts. And then you can go back and forth in a dialogue with yourself of trying to like, oh no, it's not like that bad. And oh, I will definitely be able to be a good father. And like trying to convince yourself that these thoughts that you have in the first place are not true, right? But the problem is that would that really help me be more present in the moment? Would that help me be like would that help me to be able to be there with my family, with my mother, with my father, with my sister, and my niece? No, it would not. It would still be me being inside of myself. And what would happen is that while I am still sitting there thinking and like trying to convince myself that all these negative thoughts are not true and that it's not that bad and blah blah blah, one, it might work, but two, it might also not work, and I might start to doubt whether it's true, and it might be difficult to convince myself that all of these negative thoughts are not true, and like which one is more believable? Is it the negative one or the positive one? And like then we have like just this internal dialogue debate going on, right? So this is not an optimal solution because we're still thinking. It would not help me to be present in that moment, which is what I actually want. I want to be able to sit there with my family and be present and enjoy the evening, not sitting there discussing with myself internally, right? So this is the problem with CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which I've tried multiple times and did not help me a lot. So the other method, which is called metacognitive therapy, has a completely different approach. In metacognitive therapy, we do not care about the content of the thoughts. We don't care if you're thinking about, I don't know, like losing your job or not being good enough or um, I don't know, doing something really stupid. I don't know, lighting your school on fire. Like, sure, if you're literally gonna do it, like, then it might be a good idea to talk about that. But like, we don't care what the content of the thoughts are, no matter kind of how crazy it is, because in metacognitive therapy, thoughts are perceived as normal. It's normal to have negative thoughts. It's normal. It's normal to have thoughts. Thoughts are not you. You are not your thoughts. Thoughts are thoughts, and you are you. And the thoughts that you have do not define you. They're just thoughts. And our mind is inclined to focus on negative things. This is what's called the negativity bias. And especially on days where you are not feeling very well, this bias will be even more apparent. And it's a protective mechanism which is there to ensure that you survive. And it's really smart. If we take it like in a caveman example, if you hear something in the bush, like, worst case scenario is like it's something that want to kill you, and it's really smart that your brain immediately goes to like this catastrophizing thought, because if it did not, if it just went to like the rational, I mean, that's not rational in that moment, but like if it went to like a positive version of it, it was like, oh, it's not that bad, it's probably just like a hedgehog, you would be dead, because then you would go there and see that it was in fact a bear or whatever that wanted to kill you, and then it killed you because you went there because you were trying to think positive or whatever. So the point is that your mind is inclined to focus on the negative things, especially if you're like in a more vulnerable position, like I've been today. So short story of that is that it's normal to have negative thoughts, and negative thoughts in of itself is not the problem. The thoughts are not the problem. What you do with the thoughts is the problem, right? So In metacognitive therapy, we don't try to change the thoughts. We don't try to change the content of the thoughts. We don't discuss with them. We don't try to make them different by trying to make them positive, for example. And we don't try to push them away and make them disappear. Instead, the first step is to accept that there are negative thoughts and that there are positive thoughts and that there are neutral thoughts, because thoughts are just thoughts and you don't have to do anything with them. Mm-hmm. There will be good days and there will be bad days. And this is really important to know and also to normalize. We live in a society also where it's so easy to see the perfect picture of everyone when you're looking on Instagram or whatever, right? And we forget that life is bumpy, life is hard, and there will be good days and there will most certainly also be bad days. But those bad days with bad emotions and negative thoughts, it's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's normal. And it's not a sign that you're beginning to develop anxiety or that you're starting to get into a depression or develop burnout or stress, which was what I was sitting there thinking. But what I've talked about with my therapist also in metacognitive therapy is that these things are normal. This is part of being human being. It's life sucks sometimes. That's not to say that we should just like accept pain and suffering, but to a certain extent, we need also to develop a sort of tolerance towards it and remind ourselves that it's okay and it's normal and it doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. It just means that you're human having a difficult day. And what our job in this moment is to remind ourselves of this and to try not to generalize it and think that means that the rest of the week or month or year is going to be like this, or that it's a sign of something negative. It's just you having a bad day. That's normal and that's okay. The next thing that's really important, and that is something that we focus a lot on in metacognitive therapies, metacognitive therapy, is that you are not the problem. It's not you that are wrong. You are not sick. You are not wrong, right? The problem is not with you. The problem is with your strategies. Again, this is to underline that your thoughts and the content of your thoughts are not the problem, or the amount of thoughts that you have, but what you do with the thoughts is what the problem is. And herein lies the meaning of strategies. What you do with the thoughts is what matters. So the thoughts in of themselves are not the problem. What you do with them is. A really important concept in metacognitive therapy is what we call what we water grows. And this has to do with our attention. What we put our attention towards is typically also what will take up the majority of the space in our minds, right? The more we focus on something, the more that becomes apparent to our consciousness. And the same goes with our thoughts. The more you focus on your thoughts, the more those thoughts will take up the space in your mind, and the more that will become your reality, and the more those thoughts and feelings will affect you. But what is really important to know is that also is true for the opposite, which means if you do not put your attention towards these thoughts and feelings, if you do not, so to speak, metaphorically, water your negative thoughts, water your negative emotions, but instead redirect your attention somewhere else, because the key here is that the water to your negative thoughts and emotions is your attention. And you have the ability to control your attention. You do not have the ability to control which thoughts occur in your head. We have more than 70,000 thoughts every day. There's been done studies with this. 60 to 70,000 thoughts occur in your head every single day. It would be madness to try and to control all of them. So we're not able to control which thoughts occur in our head. That just happens automatically. Our heart beats and our brain produces thoughts. That's how it works. So, but what we can control is our attention, right? So one of the issues here is that we need to try and stop making bad thoughts go away, and we need to try and stop changing bad thoughts into something else. Because by changing the thoughts into something else, for example, trying to think positive, we are indirectly giving attention to the negative thoughts. Also, by trying to push them away, we are also indirectly giving attention to the negative thoughts. And we're still internalizing our attention. We're focusing on what's going on inside of us. I'm sitting here looking at a little list that I made so I remember to say everything here. All right, so we need to try and stop to make the bad thoughts go away and instead try to allow them to be there, first of all, and accept that it's normal and that it is not a sign that something is wrong with you. So as I was sitting there at the dinner table, I was trying to go through these things that I talked with my therapist about. And it made me realize that I need to try and stop fighting the negative thoughts and try to accept that they are there right now. And what comes next is really important. In metacognitive therapy, we assume, and this is what has been shown through our research, is that your mind has the ability to self-regulate, which means that you don't need to try and do a lot of things to make your mind regulate. Actually, your mind is able to regulate on its own if you give it space and time to do so. But that is impossible if you keep interfering with that process by, for example, trying to change the thought process or trying to undermine your emotions or feelings by shoving them away. This is kind of like interfering with that process. What you can compare this to is like scratching a mosquito bite. Your mind has the ability to heal itself, just like your body has the ability to heal itself. What happens with a mosquito bite? I can ask you a question. What is the best way to make a mosquito bite go away? Is it to leave it alone and wait for your body to heal, or is it to keep itching it again and again and again? You probably guessed it. It's to leave it alone. But it's very tempting to itch the mosquito bite, right? But if you keep doing that, it will just postpone the healing process and interrupt it. The same thing goes with your mind. Your attention is important here because every time you redirect your attention towards the negative thoughts and feelings by either trying to fix the problem or think positively, changing it, or trying to push it away, that is the version, like metaphorically speaking, of itching the mosquito bite, right? So every time you kind of interact with these thoughts, it's interrupting your mind's ability to kind of self-regulate and heal itself, and for those bad negative emotions to just kind of go away on their own, right? So what do we do instead? If we want these negative thoughts not to take up so much space, and we want them to go away, but you cannot do that by trying to force them to go away by maybe trying to distract yourself or trying to tell them to go away or trying to make them change them into something else by thinking positive. What can we do instead? And this is what I mentioned before. You do not have the ability to control what thoughts are occurring in your mind. And it is counterproductive to try and push the thoughts away or trying to self-analyze your way out of the situation. Most likely that's just going to continue the circle and feed the fire even more. How do you make a fire go out? Is it by just leaving the fire alone, or is it to keep putting wood to the fire? Obviously trying to leave the fire alone. So we want to try and let the fire burn out by itself. We want to let the mosquito bite heal by itself. So if we cannot control the thoughts and feelings that we're having, instead we can control our attention. And this is what, as I was sitting there and trying to go through the different things that I learned in therapy, I remembered that we talked about some strategies to control your attention. So how do you do this? You need to try and be present in the moment, and basically it comes down to mindfulness. It is a simple version of mindfulness, but in metacognitive therapy we call it detached mindfulness or attention attention control. So your attention is kind of divided in a spectrum. You have what's called inner focus or inner attention, and outer focus or um, yeah, outer attention. When you are focused on your inner thoughts, your feelings, like kind of, as I was doing when I was sitting there, like overthinking everything, your focus is internal, and this is the equivalent of like scratching that mosquito bite. You're interrupting the process of your mind's ability to self-regulate and self-heal. And also, on top of that, because you're so focused on trying to make the problem go away by redirecting all of your intention internally, by talking to yourself or trying to think more positive or analyzing the situation or thinking about how to make it better, you're not being present. Which means that for me, in that moment, I was missing out on being present with my mom and my dad and my sister and my niece and sitting there having a good time with my family, which was making me feel even more shitty because I want to be present when I'm visiting my family and spending time with them, right? So this is what you're losing out on when you're trying to implement all of these other strategies where you have to actively try and change your mind. So with MCT, metacognitive therapy, instead we're trying to leave the mind alone. And you do this by redirecting your attention. So you want to remember, I said that attention exists in a spectrum, inner focus and outer focus, right? So what we want to do instead is try and shift our attention from inner focus to outer focus. We want to shift our attention from being inside of ourselves to being outside of ourselves. So that means intentionally telling ourselves, I am not going to interact with my emotions now or my feelings. I'm going to postpone it. I'm going to take care of the thoughts later. This is what I tell myself. I will take care of the thoughts later, and I will be present now. I will intently uh, and like with full intention, right? Intentionally, there we go. Redirect my attention now out towards my family. So I will look at you. I would look at you, um, and I will hear what you're saying. I will look at your facial expressions. I will taste the food. I will be present in the room, right? Intentionally, really intentionally. And now what is really important when we're doing this is to remember that this does not mean that the mosquito bite will stop itching. Just because you stop itching the mosquito bite doesn't mean that it stops itching. And this is the same with your mind. Just because I redirect my attention doesn't mean that the thoughts will go away or that the negative feelings and anxiety will go away. But this is what I talked about in the beginning, is that with this approach, we're not trying to make it disappear. We're allowing it to exist. We're doing both at the same time. I'm both being present with my family intentionally at the same time as I am experiencing these negative things, but I'm intentionally trying to leave it alone, and I am intentionally waiting for it to self-regulate on its own. How long will it take to self-regulate? I do not know. It can take a while. Sometimes it can take 5 minutes, other times it can take several hours for it, like the whole system to calm down again. But I know that it eventually will, and I know it will do that faster if I leave it alone and give my body the time to self-regulate on its own. So the task here is to become intentional about this attention from inner to outer and redirect your attention to the outer world intentionally, and to tell yourself that you're allowing the negative thoughts and feelings to be there, that you're not trying to change the content of it. You're not trying to think more positive. You're not trying to think of something else. Instead, allow it to be there. Tell yourself, I am allowing my negative thoughts and feelings to be here, and I'm redirecting my attention. Postpone dealing with it. Tell yourself, I will deal with the thoughts and feelings later. It's like if your phone is ringing, right? This is another metaphor we can use to understand this. So let's say you're sitting here and all of a sudden your phone rings. Now, this is like your thoughts, knocking on the door, kind of. They're calling you, they want your attention. The thoughts are making a lot of noise. Now you have a choice, right? You can either pick up the phone and start interacting with it, and but that would also draw your attention away from the present moment, right? And then you would have to spend all this energy and time and effort trying to tell this person to get the hell away again, only for them to call a second later, right? This is what you're doing with your thoughts. Go away thoughts, don't be here, get away from me, putting down the phone, calling again, like on and on it goes. But you have a choice, right? You don't have to pick up the phone. Same with the thoughts. You don't have to answer your thoughts or engage with it or talk to it. You can just leave the phone on the table and let it ring. Watch it. The question is, can you have a phone in front of you without answering it? The answer is probably yes. You can look at a phone without picking it up. Can you look at a ringing, like a phone that's ringing, without picking it up? Yes. Is it annoying? Yes. Is it loud? Yes. Is it distracting? Yes. Same with your mind and your thoughts and your feelings of anxiety. So the question then becomes, is it possible for you to have a body, a mind that's like calling, that's ringing, right, and distracting without interacting with it? Same with the phone. Same with the mosquito bite. Can you have a mosquito bite without itching it? Can you have a ringing phone next to you without picking it up? This is the essential part of it. And the premise of this is that your mind and body will self-regulate, and it will do this on its own if you give it the time and space to do it. And the key here is redirecting your focus. Again, with the spectrum here, inner focus, outer focus. Redirect your attention to outer focus. Remove your attention away from the inner focus to the outer focus. With intention, listen to what the people around you are saying. If you're sitting at home alone and like this is going on, put on a series and intentionally watch that series, but do it without the intention of making your thoughts and feelings go away. Anytime you do something specifically with the intention of making the inner thoughts and feelings go away, you are unintentionally redirecting your attention to those thoughts and feelings. So what you want to do instead is allow the noise to be there, allow the mosquito bite to itch, allow the phone to ring. This is what I was doing and telling myself when I was sitting in the kitchen today. When I redirected my attention out towards my family and my niece, and my sister was like dancing around and everything, one, it was super nice to be present with it, and it made me really happy, and it distracted me also from the negative thoughts and feelings, but not because I was trying to make it go away, but because I was being present with it. So that in of itself helped me tremendously, and that would not have been able to happen if I was so self-absorbed inside of my own world. So one, I was intentionally redirecting my focus out towards my family. Two, I was allowing the noise, I was allowing the negative thoughts and feelings to be there. I was not trying to push it away. Both things can happen at the same time. I was spending time with my family, with the anxiety, with the negative thoughts and feelings. And this is the key. In our minds, we think, I can first enjoy this moment once I feel relaxed. I can first enjoy spending time with my loved ones once I feel relaxed, once I don't have negative thoughts, once I don't have negative feelings or anxiety. I can first do the things I want to do once I feel ready, once I feel calm. But this is a lie that we tell ourselves. So what I did instead in this moment today is that I told myself, I can be present with my family while I have anxiety. I can enjoy this evening while I have negative thoughts and feelings, while all of these negative, uncomfortable things are going on inside of me. So by changing your mindset, switching it around so that instead of saying, I can first go and see my family once I have dealt with my anxiety and depression, negative feelings, you switch it around and you say, I can enjoy family time while I have these negative things going on. Allow it to be there. Redirect your attention. Intentionally be present, right? This it was not the most relaxing family time that I've had. I've definitely been at my family's place where I was able to be much more present. But by first of all accepting that this is just not a good day today. Today is just one of those days where I am not feeling like top notch. And also telling my family that I told them today that I'm just not doing really well. I'm a bit sick and like I'm feeling overwhelmed by these emotions. I let them know. I was not trying to like hide it or change the way that I were. I just allowed myself to also have a bad day. This is really important. Allow yourself to have a bad day and don't beat yourself up over it. There's nothing wrong with you for having a bad day. There's also nothing wrong with you for having several bad days or a bad period. Um, this happens to everyone. It doesn't make you doesn't mean that you have anxiety or depression or that you're heading towards like some really dark place. It just means that there are ups and downs. But the question then becomes, when you are in these periods, what will help you the most? Is it by focusing all your attention inwards on yourself, on the negative thoughts and feelings, on all the issues? Or would it maybe help you more to try and redirect your focus out towards the things that mean something to you, redirecting your attention intentionally towards the things that you want and the things that maybe will help you feel better and make you happy? Whatever this might be, going for a walk, singing a song, listening to the radio, playing a video game, but don't do these things to try and make the negative things go away. Don't use the activities as a substitute for the negative emotions. If you are actively trying to push something away, then you are also actively directing your attention towards it, because it's a bit like trying to like close a door. You're using all of these activities. If you're using them to push the negative things away, then you're using them to like close the door, and you cannot distance yourself from something while you're at the same time trying to push it away. You cannot walk away from something that you're trying to push away, right? So you need to allow it instead. Allow the negative things to be there. Allow the uncomfortable emotions to be there. Practice to be in it. Like with the mosquito bite. Practice to let the mosquito bite itch without itching it. Practice to let the phone ring, like, with the thoughts. Practice to let your phone ring and be annoying and be distracting, but without picking it up. That means trying to be present, even though it's noisy, even though it's uncomfortable. And remind yourself that it's normal, it's okay. And your mind has the ability to self-regulate if you give it time for it, if you give it space for it. And maybe, just maybe, if you, instead of focusing all your attention inside yourself on all the things that makes you uncomfortable, maybe if you redirect your attention out towards other things that mean something to you, that are valuable to you, maybe, just maybe, that could help push that process a little bit faster along so that you would start feeling better sooner, right? Okay. I wanted to use this example today, both because it took me a long time to get to a place where I'm able to articulate what I'm doing, articulate these strategies, and to actually implement them and use them on a daily basis, and also to implement and use them on days where it's difficult, where the issues, the anxiety, the negative thoughts and feelings, the worries, where it really, really takes a toll on me. And I wanted to share that, and I hope that it might be able to help someone. This is not a short video, and it's not a short video because this is not something that is easy to explain. And you need to hear these things stated multiple times to understand it, because it is very fluffy and it is very difficult to understand. I hope it made sense to you. I hope that if you're feeling anxiety, dealing with depression or stress, if you're dealing with a lot of worries and negative thoughts and feelings, I want you to try and remember the things that I said here and try to practice and see if it's possible. Call it an experiment. That if you redirect your attention away from the negative thoughts and feelings, instead of trying to change them or make them go away, if you tell yourself, I can handle feeling the negative emotions. I can stay with them. I can let it be here. I will allow the negative emotions and feelings to be here. And I will practice to redirect my attention away. Maybe over time it will help you to manage these things better. And maybe, just maybe, it will help that fire to burn down by itself. Maybe the fire will disappear, right? So try and see if it's possible to make that conscious decision to redirect your focus away from the outer, away from the inner towards the outer. Make that shift and try intentionally to redirect your attention. A good way to practice this is to go for a walk, listen to the birds singing, actively tell yourself that you are looking at all the leaves on the trees. Look at the path that you're walking. Look at the people that is coming next to you. Listen to the sounds around you. And every time that you get distracted and you maybe accidentally pick up the phone, put it down again, redirect your attention from inner to outer. Keep practicing this over time. Nothing is wrong with you for feeling negative thoughts or negative emotions. You are not the problem, but perhaps some of the strategies you are implementing could be causing you some trouble. All right. I don't want to make this video any longer. It's already more than 45 minutes. I hope that this made sense. I hope that you gained something from this. And thank you so much for giving me your attention. I hope it could benefit you. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment below if this was able to help you. And I will see you very soon. Thank you.